Get you somebody who loves you as much as Paul Finebaum loves Arch Manning. On today's show, we're breaking down Paul's comments about the Texas signal caller. Is he on to something? We'll debate. This is Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and remember to leave a comment. That's one of the fastest ways to help us grow here on Locked On, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We'll talk about a future Texas quarterback and some disappointing Texas baseball transfer news a bit later in today's show. But we're going to start with Paul Finebaum's recent comments about Arch Manning. And I'd love to hear from y'all on this. Do you agree with Paul? Is he over the top? Let me know in the comments below if you are watching on YouTube. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this was on ESPN's Get Up yesterday. We've got the end of the question and Paul's answer as he was asked about his expectations for Arch Manning here in 2025.
Paul Finebaum, what are your expectations for Arch?
The absolute roof. I think there's a reasonably good chance that Arch Manning will be sitting on the front row in New York at the Heisman ceremony. That's assuming that his team does what it's supposed to do and compete for not only the SEC, but for the national championship. And I really believe they will. I think Steve Sarkisian, who's one of the most amazing play callers I've ever seen, made a critical mistake late in the year. He was way too loyal to Quinn Ewers, who was banged up and was really ineffective. Had Arch Manning been instituted in the second half of that game, like Nick Saban did a couple of years ago with Tagovailoa, I think there's a reasonably good chance that Texas would have beaten Ohio State and won the national championship. They're very capable of doing it again this year. I believe also that Arch Manning is the best college football quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow entered the scene in 2006.
Okay, there's Paul Finebaum with some interesting music behind him. I like that. Good job there, ESPN. A lot to unpack here. Look, if you're hoping that I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes telling you that Finebaum is a genius and that Arch Manning is better than Joe Burrow and Cam Newton and Jameis Winston and Bryce Young and Tim Tebow combined, then I'm sorry, I'm going to let you down here. That's not what this is. This is a, can we let the guy play, please request? Like, doesn't he have enough pressure on him already, being the next of kin in the first family of football, being a five-star recruit, being a starting quarterback at the University of Texas, being the highest valued NIL athlete in college sports, all of those things? Is that not enough? Do we need to be saying he's the best QB in the sport in the last 2 decades before he even goes into his first year as the starting quarterback? Can we not just wait for the games? Do we have to make these ridiculously over-the-top statements 2 months before the season starts? Please. And that's the world I want to live in. But hey, I'll play along, Paul. Let's break down everything that he had to say. There were kind of 3 sections to his answer. The first section, he talked about Arch Manning sitting in New York at the front row of the Heisman ceremony, meaning he'll be a Heisman finalist at the end of the year. Nothing too crazy here, right? A lot of college football fans, especially the ones that hate Texas, probably disagree with this, but Arch currently has the second best odds to win the Heisman, according to our friends at FanDuel. There are a lot of people out there predicting Arch to win the Heisman this year. There are a lot more predicting Arch to at least be a finalist at the end of the year. So it may be a bit of a lofty prediction, but Paul Finebaum isn't alone with this one. There are plenty of people who think Arch has at least a shot to be a finalist for the most prestigious individual award in college football. So we can live with that take. Section 2, Texas would have beaten Ohio State and won the national championship if Arch Manning started the second half of that CFP semifinal in Arlington. Here's where Paul starts to reach a little bit. Here's where he starts to enter Stephen A. Smith mode. Quinn Ewers had Texas at the 1-yard line, down by 7 in the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter of that game. I get it. Quinn's the quarterback, and he's going to get some blame for Texas not scoring, and he's going to shoulder more blame than just about anybody else. That's the nature of the beast when you play that position. But I think Quinn's coach, I think his offensive line, and I think his run game let him down when Texas got the ball to the 1-yard line. Like, Texas could have easily won that game in that spot. Quinn did enough to put Texas in a good spot down the stretch to at least tie that game and force overtime. Comparing things to the Alabama-Georgia National Championship in 2018, Alabama was down 13-0 at halftime. They had nothing going offensively. Jalen Hurts couldn't get anything going against that Georgia defense. That's why Nick Saban made the move. I mean, Texas was right there with Ohio State the entire game. This was a one-score game throughout, and the offense had some success. They had already scored a couple of touchdowns in that matchup. So it didn't make sense. To say those are apples-to-apples games and scenarios feels ridiculous. And, oh, by the way, Arch Manning did play against Ohio State. He had one play. And if y'all remember, he got crushed on a rushing attempt. Lathan Ransom, it was at the end of the first half. Texas had a 4th and 1. They brought in Arch Manning. He kept it, picked up the first down. That was great. But he took a shot to the head, nearly fumbled. They had to review it to confirm that his knee was down before the ball came out. Oh, they were also reviewing if it was a targeting on that play. And Arch was banged up after that hit. I mean, go back and watch it. Like, people think he was concussed after that hit. He says he wasn't, but a lot of people disagree. I don't think we ever really got full confirmation either way if Arch Manning was concussed. So obviously, if he was, he couldn't have played in the second half. He wouldn't have even been an option for Texas to turn to. But even if he wasn't concussed, would any coach have thrown Arch out there in that spot after taking that hit in the final couple of minutes of the first half? I don't think he was fully right. I'm not putting him out there against that defense. And by the way, Quinn Ewers led Texas on a touchdown drive right before the half. Like, that possession continued after Arch picked up the first down, and Quinn got Texas into the end zone. So you're going to take him out of the game after he leads your offense on a touchdown drive? That I don't know if I buy that one there. I would have been okay with Arch maybe playing a little bit more in that game if he was able to. But to say, once again, that the scenarios are identical between Texas, Ohio State in 2024 and Alabama, Georgia in 2018, that's just not the case. And then we get to Section 3, the most ridiculous of all, where Paul Finebaum said, Arch Manning is the, quote, best college football quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow entered the scene in 2006, end quote. I mean, come on. He started 2 games. Look, I'm an Arch guy. I don't want this to come across like I'm not. I'm super excited about Arch Manning and what he's going to do this year, and hopefully next year too. I think he's got a chance to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I really do. I think he can be a Heisman finalist. I think he can win the Heisman Trophy when this season is all said and done. But, I mean, come on. I'm not making any declarative statements saying he's the best quarterback the sport has seen in 2 decades. Like, save those debates and discussions until after his career is over. Don't start those after he's started 2 games against ULM and Mississippi State. I mean, what are we doing here? This is just reckless from Paul Finebaum. The best college football quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow entered the scene in 2006. Tebow wasn't even that good in 06. It took him a couple of years for him to, become the Tim Tebow, who is one of the best resumes that any quarterback has ever seen. But, I mean, that's just insane right there. Can we let the kid play the games? By the way, this is Paul Finebaum saying this. Paul Finebaum, a guy who spent years telling us that Texas had no chance to compete in the SEC. Now he's saying that a Texas quarterback is about to be the best QB, not only in the conference, but the best quarterback the sport has seen in 20 years. This guy less than 5 years ago said Texas isn't a relevant program. They're so irrelevant. Why are you talking about them all the time? It's like a pretty relevant question. No. He also said when it was announced that Texas was going to be joining the SEC a few years ago, that Texas only matters to Texas fans. Does Texas matter now? How is it possible that we only matter to our own fan base, yet you're saying we've got the best player at the most important position in 20 years? I don't understand how that logic checks out. The math isn't mathing there, Paul Finebaum. I mean, this guy has just become a quieter Stephen A. Smith or a skinnier Kendrick Perkins. Like, he'll just say things to get a reaction. And hey, congrats, Paul. You got one out of me, and you got one out of every college football fan in the world. Everyone is taking one side or the other on this one. But there are even Texas fans who are like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't even know if Paul Finebaum believes what he said there. I think he's looking for views. I think he's looking for clicks. And, well, if you talk about Arch Manning, you are going to get that in the year of our Lord 2025. And it's just funny to watch the total 180 that this dude has taken. And look, you're allowed to change your opinion when you get new information, but to go from super extreme on one end, Texas is irrelevant, they suck, they don't matter to anybody outside of Austin, to, oh my God, they've got the best quarterback the sport has seen in 20 years? That's a lot. That's a lot for me. This guy is a hot take artist who will change his mind tomorrow if it gets him more views and clicks. So again, I'm sorry if you were hoping I was going to back Paul Finebaum here and spend 10 minutes telling you why Arch Manning is going to be better than all of the other great quarterbacks that we've seen in this sport, from Joe Burrow. Look at Joe Burrow's stats in 2019. Look at what Cam Newton did at Auburn. Look at what Bryce Young did at Bama. Jameis Winston, RG3. I mean, do I hope Arch is on the level of those guys? Yeah, of course. We all do. But can I predict that for a guy who started 2 games in 2 years? Nah, I'm not going to do that here on July 2nd. Just let the kid play. Is it that hard to do? Can we just wait and see how good Arch Manning truly is? I get it. A lot of this industry is making predictions, but can we keep our predictions tempered a little bit, or do we have to say the most outlandish things ever to get a reaction? I would love to look back 2 years from now and be talking about Arch in the same light as Joe Burrow and Cam Newton and insert Heisman winning, national championship winning quarterback here. But I'm going to let this thing play out before making those types of projections. What say you? Do you agree with Finebaum? Is he on the right track? Am I being too pessimistic, too negative? Do you agree with me? Comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Would love to get y'all's reactions to Paul Finebaum's incredibly hot take from yesterday on ESPN. All right, let's shift gears here. We're not trying to rush Arch Manning out of here at all, but we've got some quotes from the guy who could ultimately replace Arch at Texas down the line. We'll tell you what 5-star quarterback commit Dia Bell had to say about Arch Manning and his future in Austin. Coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for today's video sponsor. Shout out to our friends at Monarch Money. You ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can be. Whether you're growing your savings, whether you're planning to make a big purchase, maybe you're saving up for the kiddos to go to college, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO that gives you full visibility and control over all of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. So you can track everything. Your accounts, all of your credit cards, your debit cards, your investments, everything is right there in one place. You can stop just managing your money and start actually building wealth. It is a pain in the rear end to spend all of those times. Okay, let me check this app. Let me check that app. Let me check this card. Now, you don't have to do that anymore because Monarch Money puts everything in one place. And you can even put shared accounts too. You got a wife, you got a husband, you got someone you share a home with. You want to see what's going on with their accounts and plan together. Monarch Money makes it possible. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Again, Locked On College, that's the promo code for half off your first year from our great friends at Monarch Money. All right, welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Perhaps the crown jewel of Texas's 2026 recruiting class is 5-star quarterback Dia Bell, who has had a very busy summer that included being named Elite 11 MVP out in California 2 weeks ago. Dia Bell is a household name at this point, not only for Texas fans, but I think for any college football fans who keep up with recruiting. Dia Bell is a 5-star on every major recruiting site, one of the top QBs in the nation. And again, you win Elite 11 MVP, people take notice. It's a huge pickup for Steve Sarkisian and for the future of Longhorn football. I'm not here trying to crown Dia Bell as the next Arch Manning. We don't need that, and he definitely doesn't need that. But there are some interesting similarities between Dia and Arch. They're both 5 stars. They both come from athletic backgrounds. But obviously, the most obvious comparison is that they're both kin of professional athletes. Obviously, we know about Arch's family. Dia is the son of longtime NBA player Raja Bell, who played 12 years in the association. A great defensive player, a total pain in the ass to deal with. Like a guy you loved having on your team, a guy you absolutely hated if he was on the other team. And I mean that as a compliment. Like Raja Bell was a winning player who made winning plays. He was willing to do the dirty work and whatever it took to help his team get a win. Hopefully some of that stuff translated to Dia Bell. Dia's obviously not playing defense, but that competitive mindset that, hey, I'll lay it out on the line for my teammates every single day. That's what you want in a great leader. That's what you want in a quarterback. And I'm hoping the apple didn't fall too far from the tree on that one. Dia was recently a guest on the Cover 3 podcast, and he was asked about a number of different things regarding his commitment to Texas. He was also asked about Arch Manning and how he can learn from what Arch is going through. Quotes, I feel like Arch is the main person you can look to learn how to navigate all the noise. He doesn't really get fazed by it. He's not worried about it at all. He's waited his time. It's his time now, and hopefully he's going to take full advantage of it. I'm going to be here waiting to watch it, and I'm excited to watch. And when I get there, if I do get the opportunity to learn from him in a year, I'm going to take full advantage of it. End quote. Love that mindset. Dia Bell rooting for Arch Manning, rooting for Texas. That's what you want. And we'll see if Dia Bell and Arch Manning are teammates. I think we all hope they are because we want 2 years of Arch Manning as the starter at Texas. But obviously, there's a chance that they're not. Dia Bell's going into his last year of high school. Arch Manning could go pro after this season is done. But just the main point here is having a quarterback who is more eager to learn than to get on the field and play right away. That's a very good thing. Not everybody is willing to do that nowadays. Arch obviously was. And I hope that sets kind of a tone for the future of the Steve Sarkisian era at Texas. And it's probably going to take Arch having a great year and a great career for this to really work. But, man, if he does, and Arch is a Heisman finalist, and maybe he is what Paul Finebaum is talking about, like that's something Steve Sarkisian can sell to recruits. Hey, if you're a quarterback, come here. You might not start right away, but you're going to get developed. And if you wait your turn, good things are coming your way. Just look what happened to Quinn Ewers. Look what happened to Arch Manning. And hopefully that trend once again continues. You would love to be in that position where you're starting third-year guys every year. Not a lot of programs have that luxury. Hell, I keep bringing up Michigan, potentially relying on a true freshman quarterback to start the year for them this year. That's not a position that you want to be in. For Texas, Quinn Ewers was going into his third year as the starter last year. Arch Manning going into his third year of college football this year. That is where you want to be. Dia Bell also mentioned that he's looking forward to learning from all of the players on Texas, the coaches on the Texas staff. He even brought up Trey Owens and KJ Lacey as well. And one more quote. Again, Dia Bell not only prepared for, but excited about the idea of Arch Manning staying another year in Austin during what would be Bell's freshman season. One more quote from the 5-star. Quote, if he decides to stay for the second year, I will have no problem learning. That just gives me more time to learn everything and make sure that when it becomes my time, I'm as prepared as possible. I have no problem sitting behind him at all because that means there's another person I can pick their brain and learn how they go about learning the offense or studying for the next week. End quote. So again, what a great mindset in today's era of football where it's me, and if I don't get to play right away, I'm leaving. Dia Bell saying that, no, it'd be great to sit a year and learn from Arch Manning. Are you kidding me? Like those guys are fewer and further between now in college football than they've ever been. And I credit Dia Bell for having that mindset, wanting to be a sponge and just absorb all of the knowledge that he can in his first year on the 40 acres, basically emphasizing that it's not his plan to start his first year of college football. Whether Manning is back in 2026 or not, it feels like Dia Bell's like, you know what? I want to sit, I want to develop, and I don't want to play until I am ready to go. And, man, I mean, it's Texas's quarterback room next year. Potentially Arch Manning going into year 4, Trey Owens into year 3, KJ Lacey year 2, and then Dia Bell as a true freshman 5-star waiting in the wings. That's really good. Look, even if Arch Manning leaves after 2025, Trey Owens year 3, Lacey year 2, Diabell. That's a pretty good situation to be in. But obviously, if Arch Manning does come back, you're in a great spot. And, oh, man, the 2027 QB competition at Texas is going to be really fun to watch. Giving you a lot of numbers here, projecting way into the future. But you go to 2027, you have a fourth-year Trey Owens, a third-year KJ Lacey, a second-year Diabell, and then, Sark's going to sign another elite blue-chip prospect in that class. Maybe somebody leaves before then, but, man, that's a lot of talent. That's a lot of experience. That is a great place to be in. I'm pumped about Diabell, though. Again, not trying to rush anybody ahead of them out, but I was excited about Diabell from the moment I learned who he was, and then got more excited when he committed to Texas, got more excited after the Elite 11 camp performance, and then after seeing these quotes, yeah, I am hyped. He's got the right mindset. Hopefully it pays off for him, and hopefully it pays off for the Texas Longhorns down the road. All right, we'll take your thoughts. What say you about Diabell? How excited are you for him? And in the post-Arch era, who do you think will have the leg up on the quarterback competition? It'll be a fun one to watch in the future. All right, one segment to go on what is today? Wednesday edition of Locked On Longhorns. Let's talk a little Longhorn baseball. Man, Texas baseball was dealt one final blow before the portal window closed yesterday. I'm pretty bummed about this news. We'll talk about who left and why it's a bigger deal than maybe some people realize coming up next right here on Locked On Longhorns. All right, back here on Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Yesterday was the last day of the 30-day transfer portal window for college baseball. And I thought we were done with Texas news, at least with the bad Texas news. But unfortunately, a surprising name showed up in the portal yesterday. Rising sophomore pitcher Drew Rarick made the decision to portal. And if you look at Rarick's 2025 stats, you might wonder why I'm upset about this at all. Rarick only made 7 appearances the entire season. He only pitched a total of 7 innings. He had an ERA of 9. He walked more guys than he struck out. 11 walks in 7 innings of work for the 2025 Horns. His last appearance was in the month of April. So it's like, well, why are you losing your mind about this guy, BK? Why is this a big loss for Texas? Well, Drew Rarick has a ridiculously good arm. 6'5", 250. His fastball in high school hit 98. And we saw that when he pitched in limited opportunities at Texas this past season. This guy was expected to be a decently high pick in the 2024 MLB draft if he went pro out of high school. He was ranked as a top 250 prospect in America that year. And that might not sound like much, but that's a top 10 round projection in a 20 round MLB draft. So it's a big deal to get drafted anywhere out of high school. To be a potential top half of the draft pick, that means you got a little something to you. MLB teams don't like to waste draft picks. No team likes to waste draft picks. A lot of the draft is on potential. And for a lot of people who wanted Drew Rarick on an MLB team, or at least in an MLB system, obviously a lot of people wanted him on their college baseball team as well. By the way, Rarick is from North Dakota. He has that kind of stuff in Texas or California and puts up the numbers that he did in high school in one of those bigger states where, people respect the competition more. Then Drew Rarick would have been slotted to go much, much higher in the 2024 MLB draft. This guy, it's all about potential. Perfect Game had him ranked as the 16th best right-handed arm coming out of high school last year. So that's why. The numbers last year weren't great, but you felt like this dude had a chance to be a major part of Texas's pitching staff moving forward. Rarick was originally committed to A&M because he wanted to get developed by Max Wiener. When Max Wiener accompanied Jim Schlossnagle to Austin, Rarick flipped his commitment to Texas, and you're like, all right, these two guys are in cahoots. They're going to be working together for the next 3 years. Wiener's going to get him right. He's going to get the most out of what Rarick has in that arm, and boom, he's going to help Texas compete for championships, and then he's going to be a high-round draft pick. Well, that's not the case. I was hopeful he would turn into something special, even after a disappointing year, but I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure why it happened. To make things stranger and to make this a little bit more confusing. Again, it's a guy entering the portal. It happens every day in college sports. But on June 29th, which was 3 days ago, Rarick sent a tweet thanking Texas fans who showed up to the recent Texas One Fund donor event that supported Texas athletics. That tweet was sent out on June 29th. And he actually sent a few tweets out that day promoting the Texas One Fund and telling Texas fans, hey, like, support Texas baseball, support Texas athletics so we can, keep competing for SEC titles. And then he's in the portal on July 1st, 2 days later. That's bizarre. Maybe he wanted a bigger offer. Maybe a different school offered him something and he wanted Texas to match it. So he started asking around, hey, somebody help out a little bit so I can get more of a bag to stick around. I don't know. I don't want to assume too much. I don't want to put anything like that on the kid. But that is weird to see a player tweeting so much, promoting his school and promoting his school's NIL collective. And then 48 hours later, he hits the portal and announces that he's going somewhere else. It's unique. Rarick is the 18th portaler to leave Texas. The window is now closed. Nobody else can leave. More people can come in if they're already in the portal, but nobody can enter the portal from here on out. So Drew Rarick will find a home. I wish him the best of luck. I don't want this to sound like sour grapes. I hope things end up working out for him. But again, disappointed because I felt like he had a chance to be a big bullpen piece next year, maybe a guy who could have slotted into a starting spot as next year progressed, or maybe 2 years from now. With that type of stuff, the high 90s fastball has got a very good slider, very good curveball, working on a changeup. Feel like the potential is there. Unfortunately, it's not going to get realized here in the ATX. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. If you made it this far, number one, thank you very much. Number two, please remember to like, subscribe, turn those notifications on so you're always informed whenever we release new content. And if you're listening in podcast form, thank you as well. Please be sure to rate 5 stars. Really appreciate y'all making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Portal Show. Talk about this show all the time. Brian Smith is doing a great job covering the portal, covering recruiting, covering everything you need to know to be the most informed college football fan wherever you are. Find the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll have more Texas football conversation on tomorrow's show. Some big recruiting decisions coming up as this week progresses. We'll talk about those as well. Never a dull moment on the 40 acres. We got it all right here on Locked On Longhorns. But that'll do it for today's show. Till next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.